Alright, welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory. Let's build episode 9. Picking up right where we left off, until I get distracted by some shinies, that is. So, we'll pick up a slug. And there is our iron node that we're going to build our other miner on. But I see a doggo. Yet another distraction. Doggos in this playthrough have been much more difficult for me to tame. I never had so much trouble before in my previous two playthroughs. Getting them to pay attention to the berries. This time he gets stuck on the node and can't get up over the node. Is that node higher than 2 meters? I don't think so. Regardless, I have to try again. He's getting dangerously close to some enemies over there. But we will try another berry. And this time we're successful. Alright. And this doggo becomes 9th doggo. If I can type without caps lock, that is. So I go to put down my foundations over this iron node, this pure iron node that I plan to use for FICSMAS factory. Then I realize, wait a minute, I had a doggo. I better do something with him before he gets lost or hurt. So, finally able to lead him across. Not easy. He definitely does not want to seem to pay attention. But I do finally lead him over to the edge of this cliff. The jumping seems to help them follow. They can see you a little better when you jump straight up in the air. I'm going to take him over to my little semi-base across the way. I do eventually get him to follow me all the way across. And eventually I do make it all the way over there to where I have bridged across from my main base in the northern forest. Just in case you're joining us late and unaware. I decide I'm going to build him a little pen over there next to that island where my power tower is. Okay, and here's where I'm going to make that pen. So I'm going to lay down a layer of foundations, place another layer of foundations underneath it, delete the middle one to create the pen. Then I'll put some grass inside, although I forget to do that first. Come here, little doggo. Come to Tarlock. That's right. That's right. And drop. And here's where I forgot about the grass. So I'll just create a ramp that I nudge in place and lure the doggo up onto the little ramp, place the grass, and then drop him back down by deleting the ramp. Easy enough. Now I want to work on my bridge to get the iron and copper ore over to Paradise Island. So I'm going to lay down my blueprint machine. And then I'm going to go to the Awesome Shop because I realize I don't have the arch looking piece that I'm looking for. I looked all through my mod editions and didn't find it. So I'm going to grab it here. Then I realize it costs 6 tickets and I don't have 6 tickets. So time to put down a sink. A quick storage container and belt, and we are in business. Here I'm trying to find something to sink, clear out my inventory, put some slugs and other treasures away, animal remains. Then I realize, hey, I had fused frames that wouldn't fit into my dimensional depot. It only has 1 stack available. But, hey, those are good sinking items. And then I realize, well, there's still no power for the sink. After a lot of falling and acrobatics, I do manage to get power over to the sink. And then, before I can even get over to it, frames are already gone. But we have 10 tickets. Look at that, just from 17 piece frames. Amazing. And so I'm able to purchase my quarter pipes back, which will really help me when it comes to making this bridge.
Where would we be without foundations? Probably a bit lower.
Isn't Ada just the wittiest AI being you've ever heard in your life? So on with the design for my bridge. I want to have an archway that is the length of the blueprint maker for foundations. And I realize, well, that's kind of low, so let's raise it up one foundation. And I will put a support underneath that. And I'm able to move this piece over all the way, nudge it over to the edge, make sure it's at the edge. It is. And so now how are we going to do the top? Well, first things first, we're going to get a higher vantage point with a lookout tower. And then looks like just a straight foundation all the way across the top. And we're going to go with a 4 meter because we want this to be a nice thick chunky bridge. I think that'll look good. And there we go. That's the main structure of the bridge. So I'm looking at it for a few moments and I realize I don't really like the look of that. So let's see what we can do about it. We look and see, oh, maybe we should make it all match as far as a fix-it foundation. And then I realize, well, I'm not going to be able to paint that. So we try something different. Coated concrete, because I have found some plastic. Eventually, I don't know if this is shown or not in the video, I end up changing it back to regular concrete because I just don't have enough plastic. I haven't reached that part of the game yet. All the plastic I have is what I've found. And then I decided that the bridge needs some walls on the edge of it. So we're going to go with these triangular walls from one of the mods that I have installed. Concrete ramp wall. It's very paintable as compared to the walls that come with the base game. So I place some triangular walls and then squirrel, or rather doggo. For some reason I get the incredible urge to go check the doggo to see what he's brought me. I'm not sure why. Maybe I was looking for something. The rifle ammo was not what I was looking for, in fact. And I realized I had placed the left-hand wall backwards, so I need to fix that. And I do a lot of this jumping and flying around. Be thankful that I edit the vast majority of it out. So what I'm going for here is a way to make like some stripes and like a candy cane, red and white stripes. So I have removed those small walls and I had thought to replace them with the diagonal half size walls. And it looks okay, but eventually I completely changed that whole design. I moved the candy cane down to the main part of the bridge and under the bridge, and all these walls here will be just plain green, and I think it looks kind of nice, very festive. But here you can see the process of how I got there. So I'm going to make red, white, red, white. And that actually sticks around until almost the very end. But it was definitely a process to build this bridge, but I do like the outcome for sure. And here I'm playing with the color of the concrete itself. This is still coated at this point. It does end up being white and at the end, and I do come up with a way to accent it. Well, you'll be able to see it once it's done. I put a kind of a brick facade using painted beams, which we'll see in just one moment. Here I've forgotten that I have used the coated concrete. I can't actually build with the coated concrete. I can only change it after the fact, and I think one of the mods has probably done that because I haven't bought it in the shop because I don't have a lot of plastic. I don't have plastic unlocked actually, but I did finally figure out that it was coated concrete, and I'm able to change the color to match. I felt like those middle walls were too low, so I wanted to add a railing across them, which I did, and then that railing looked kind of incomplete, so I added a couple more pieces, and they ended up being backwards for some reason. These railings came from one of the mods, and they are directional. These are the left railings, industrial railing left, you can see it on the screen. So I think those rails look pretty good. And then here's where I start the brick facade. So you can kind of see that I go with a 2 meter by 1 meter brick. And there's a space between them of, it's 5 clicks, 50 centimeters. I think is what I have. I think I have it set for 10 centimeters. As for the tiny nudge in the infinite nudge settings. Regardless, I end up scrapping the entire thing and starting over. I raise the pattern 1/2 meter so that gap is not there, and make it 6 clicks between bricks so that the pattern repeats better between bridge segments, and you'll see that process. Fortunately for you, I've edited about 80% of it out. You'll just kind of see the evolution of the pattern here. Here I decide that it really needs to be black in between the bricks and not brown. It's still not quite right. Lower down, where I have to have some gaps where there are no bricks, just because I can't fit a 1x1 meter beam anymore. It just looks bad where we just have black concrete, and that is why I do end up changing to white. And you'll see how I still get the black in between the bricks. So right here I'm looking at this and just thinking, the black showing through underneath the bridge just looks ugly. There's got to be something I can do about it. And also the black across the top row between the walls and the brick beam pieces. So that's when I decide to move the entire thing up by 0.5 meter, and I will also eventually change the spacing in between, horizontal spacing between bricks to make the pattern repeat better. You'll notice here that these beams are even with the foundation, and then I bring them out 2 clicks, two tiny nudges. And that becomes important later. Right here is where I determine that I can use just 1 meter nudging to place bricks quite a lot faster than I had been. Once I get a brick in a vertical position, I can place all the bricks below it very quickly. That does speed things up. And here I'm starting to play with the colors of the bricks, thinking about a red and white pattern. I hadn't quite nailed it yet. I do come up with something that looks a lot nicer. Here I'm trying something like every other brick, and I give up on that. Go back to all white. But once I get all the bricks placed, you'll see that I do try to go with that every other brick pattern again for red, and it's just not right. But I can see here something that's better. And this is the point where I realize my spacing just isn't going to work. So I try to, I say, well, maybe the left 3 bricks can have an extra click in between them, and it's still not good enough. So I eventually do start completely over again with an extra click between, an extra tiny nudge between every single brick, and it looks much better. Once I see that the first row looks pretty good, I then go and delete the rest of the bricks to do the other rows all the same way. And once I get those first 2 rows done, everything goes quickly from there because of the just the simple vertical nudging that I can do straight down from those 2 rows. Aside from the couple places where I have to place half bricks, but again, it's not that big of a deal, and eventually it looks much better. Here's that every other brick red pattern, and I realized that because of the number of bricks across, the pattern is not going to properly repeat. It's going to have 2 red bricks right next to each other at the junction. So this pattern just doesn't end up working, even though it doesn't look bad. On the individual level, the bridges will not be able to tile together correctly. So I finally arrive at my final pattern, which is a nice diagonal. And this actually works out. It tiles properly, and I think it looks pretty good. And again, the walls at the top end up being changed from the red and white, so they don't really clash with the pattern below. And I will go and put the pattern in on the left as well. And I actually, down at the lower part, I get it wrong. It's too high, but I will fix it here in a second. There I have a bright white with high saturation value. That's how you get the concrete able to actually look white instead of pale gray. And this looks better underneath the bridge, but I really like the black on the edge, so you'll see how I managed to fix that here in a second. Here's where I wanted to change those walls at the top, the color of them, but I didn't like the green that was there, so I decided to create a new FICSMAS green, and I think it looks really good. Apologies for the pause here. It was a gap in the original footage. There wasn't any way I could fix it. decide that the bridge needs something on top of it, so I'm going to put a layer of asphalt, making an actual road. And you'll see what I do. Instead of putting the belts up on the road, you'll see what I do here in a minute. And even that is the final answer. So these rails aren't even all placed the same direction. It had to do with adding some of them after the fact. So, and they're now one level too low. So I delete them and remake them. Changing those angled walls just to plain straight walls with the railings on top. And no, I haven't actually been playing for 6 hours. I believe I left the game on when I went to have dinner. That was 2 sessions equaling 6 hours with a gap in the middle. It has been a while though, and I did get frustrated later on. We'll talk about that in a second. Right now I'm placing the rails and then I'm going to color the red, which I think looks nice with the green walls. So remember how the bricks come out 2 tiny nudges from the foundations there? What if I have mortar that comes out just 1 tiny nudge from the foundation? How would that look? Let's see. And then I paint it black. There, I can still get my black mortar between the bricks and not have the black underneath the bridge. I really like it. I think it turned out well. Those black parts on the edge are mostly covered up when the blueprint is tiled. And here's where I delete these diagonal walls and just replace them with straight walls. I think it looks fine. So my idea was to have the iron and copper ingots travel across the bridge to Paradise Island on belts that were exposed, visible. I will line these belts up, and then I will give them a FICSMAS skin, if I can remember where it is. Sometimes I wonder why it takes me so long to find things in the menu. It doesn't feel like that at the time, but going back and watching these videos, it makes me wonder why it's so slow. So this is how the blueprint looks, but I do end up changing my design for a more whimsical, fancy design. And let's have a little chat about what happened there. I got very frustrated. I couldn't duplicate. I wanted to put the blueprint the other way around and make it doubled, and I just could not get it to work. Even deleting the ends and everything else, no matter what I did, I couldn't get it to work. So here are my factories, my Santa's magical iron ingots and Santa's magical copper ingots. So I ended up making the entire blueprint again from scratch on the opposite side to double bridge, and then I did add those pipes with the FICSMAS skins, and I think they look really neat. So I did end up getting it correct, and then I decided I was tired of blueprints, so why not take you on a tour of Paradise Island? Didn't turn out to be all that much, but let's talk about it anyway. So this is Paradise Island. It's actually quite a large place. I didn't realize quite how large it was until we went over here. And there's going to be plenty of room for Satisfactory. Let me tell you that. Just amazing. And here I'm going to lay down some foundations and kind of talk about, I talked about how I wanted to make this area look like snow. So I'm just going to color these foundations white. And then I realized they're still asphalt. So I have to change them to concrete. And so I make them bright white. At this point, I'm pretty annoyed about the asphalt foundations that are still there, and I think there may still be one more. But anyway, here I'm talking about the grass and how I will avoid grass showing through, and I can put a ramp on top, and that's going to elevate the foundations, and I can go on from there. And that's how we will ensure that we have a snowy environment and not grass. This is just a big waterfall on the island, and I'm trying to think of maybe how I could incorporate that into my factory design. Here I'm pointing out how far the island actually goes, and the fact that we're not even there to the edge yet. It goes out far past this bay, and there's some little islands out here. I make the potentially unwise decision to swim out to these islands and try to find the world edge. Yeah, I give up on that pretty quickly. Turn around and go the other way, back to land. It's too far to swim. And then I said, well, I could build foundations out to the edge of the world and show it to you that way. And come to find out, I'm out of concrete. So we do get out to the little islands out here, and that's it. There's no way to get any farther right now. So I said, well, we'll come back later. I still haven't been back. And at that point, I just start to head back. And again, it's quite a trek. I do delete my original foundations that I placed down as a snow demonstration, so I can get some concrete back. But I'm not using that to build a bridge out to the edge of the world anymore. I was frustrated from building for a long time and wanted to do something different. And so we, ran into some spiders. So watch my abysmal targeting as I take out about 5 or 6 spiders. Problem with these little spiders is when they swarm you, you can be taking aim at one and another one will come up from you from behind and from the side, and then if you miss, you've got quite a long reload time, and it just seems like someone's always able to hit you in that amount of time. There's another miss. So I'm wondering what these spiders were guarding. Usually they live near caves, and I go to do a little bit of investigating. I don't find a cave, but I find something else. I'm familiar with this lake. There's a crash site here. So let's take out these few beasties that are guarding it. They run away and I can't hit them with my gun, so I just decide to melee them. This one goes down pretty easily. The other one takes a little bit of effort. And grab the slug and on to the crash site, which is in the middle of the lake. I love the infinite zoop mod, but one of its problems is that sometimes you build more foundations than you intended. So I have to delete a couple of rows. And this crash site needs a little power, but that's no problem. I keep hitting 1 and getting the glass frame foundation. My preset got accidentally changed, my hotbar there at the bottom, but I'm able to quickly change it back. Just like that, another hard drive found. If I want the goodies across the way over on the beach, I'm going to have to take out the beasties that are standing guard, which Fortunately, the alpha hog doesn't even look at me. His buddies don't seem to care for me too much, but alpha hog goes down without even seeing me. A little straightening of the inventory, and I am able to grab all the loot. Here come our 6 items. 1 encased beams, 2 reinforced plates, 3 steel beams, 4 more encased beams, 5 copper sheets, and last but not least, the reinforced plates, number 6. And that's all for this episode. We'll see you next time.